Your body started preparing for the interview before your alarm went off. Not when you woke up, not when you reviewed your notes one last time. Before any of that, while you were still asleep. Hours before the room was light, your cortisol was already rising. Your stress response was already activating. Your nervous system was already running through its preparation sequence. For a high-demand event, it had logged the night before. By the time you opened your eyes, the preparation had been underway for hours. This is not anxiety. This is not a character flaw. This is one of the most precisely engineered biological systems in the human body. A pre-event preparation mechanism so reliable that researchers can measure it in a sleep lab, predict it from a calendar, and trace it back to a nervous system that has been preparing humans for high-stakes moments for 300,000 years. The problem is not that it activates. The problem is what it was originally designed to prepare you for. In 2018, researchers published a study measuring cortisol patterns in 40 healthy adults across 3 nights in a sleep laboratory. On one night, participants were told they would face a demanding cognitive competition the following morning. On another night, they were told the next day would involve only routine tasks. Same participants, same beds, same environment. The only variable was what they believed was coming. The results were direct. On the nights before the anticipated high-demand day, the cortisol awakening response, the surge of cortisol the body produces in the first 30 minutes after waking, was significantly elevated compared to the low-demand condition. The body had registered the incoming challenge and begun its preparation during sleep, adjusting its hormonal output hours before the event arrived. A 2025 study confirmed the downstream effect. Anticipating a stressful event disrupts sleep quality in the second half of the night specifically, activating arousal-related cognitive circuits that pull the brain toward lighter, less restorative sleep stages, not preventing sleep entirely, but making the sleep that does occur measurably shallower, harder to sustain, easier to interrupt. The night feels like insomnia. The mechanism is preparation. To understand why the body does this, you have to understand what cortisol is actually for. Cortisol is not a stress hormone, in the sense that it signals something has gone wrong. It is a mobilization hormone, a signal that something important is coming, and the body needs to be ready. It raises blood glucose for immediate energy. It sharpens sensory alertness. It accelerates cognitive processing speed. It primes the muscles, the immune system, the cardiovascular system for high-output performance. In the environment where this system evolved, the events that warranted this kind of preparation were physical and existential. A major hunt requiring coordinated group effort at dawn. A confrontation with a rival group over territory or resources. A river crossing, a storm, a journey into unfamiliar land. These were events where the difference between optimal performance and slightly suboptimal performance was sometimes the difference between living and not. The body learned to prepare in advance. It learned to read the signals of an incoming, high-stakes event and begin its mobilization sequence during the preceding sleep cycle, so that by the time the event arrived, the system was already warmed up. The cortisol was not the cost of the challenge. It was the preparation for it. The system has not changed, the counter has. For 300,000 years, the events that triggered this preparation sequence were genuinely rare. A hunter-gatherer group might face a handful of truly high-demand days per season. The pre-event preparation program was designed for a low-frequency trigger. It was expensive to run, and the body ran it selectively. Then the modern world handed the system a new schedule. A job interview on Monday, a performance review on Wednesday, a presentation to the board on Friday, a difficult conversation that has been scheduled for 2 weeks and sits on the calendar like a small weight. That grows heavier as the day approaches. A final exam, first date, a medical appointment carrying results that could change things. Every one of these events carries enough social, economic, and psychological significance that the brain's threat assessment system classifies them as high stakes. The HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, that coordinates the cortisol preparation response, does not distinguish between a territorial confrontation with a rival group and a 40-minute interview in a conference room. It reads the signals, it registers something important is coming, begin preparation. And then it runs the same program it has always run. The preparation was designed for a world where important days happened a few times a year. In the modern world, they happen every week. There is a second mechanism that makes this worse, and it operates in a loop. UC Berkeley researchers found that sleep deprivation amplifies the amygdala's anticipatory anxiety response. The brain's threat detection system becomes more reactive, not less, when sleep is insufficient, which means the worse you sleep before an important day, the more anxious you become about the performance, the more anxious you become about the fact that you haven't slept, and the more both of those things feed back into the system that was already keeping you awake. The loop compresses everything into a single night. You know, the night you have had it, lying there at midnight calculating how many hours remain. If you fall asleep right now, watching that number get smaller, feeling the anxiety about the calculation compound, on top of the anxiety about tomorrow, until you are no longer sure which thing you are actually anxious about. And it no longer matters because either way you are not sleeping. What you were experiencing was a preparation system running at full output, a threat detection system amplified by insufficient sleep, and a cognitive monitoring system calculating the gap between the sleep you needed and the sleep you were getting. Three systems, all doing exactly what they were built to do, all making the same night impossible. None of them were malfunctioning. The next time you lie awake the night before something that matters, and you will, because everyone does, here is what is actually happening while you stare at the ceiling. Your cortisol is rising ahead of schedule. Mobilizing resources for a challenge your brain has flagged as significant. Your default mode network is running elevated activity, reviewing relevant information, preparing responses to scenarios it has already modeled. Your arousal threshold is lower than usual, which is why every small sound pulls you closer to waking. Why the room feels different at 2 a.m. than it does on an ordinary night. Your brain is not sabotaging you. It raised your cortisol while you slept. It sharpened your alertness before your alarm. It ran its full preparation sequence overnight without being asked, because it classified what was coming as worth preparing for. It just couldn't know that the hunt was a job interview, that the thing requiring its full mobilization capacity was 40 minutes in a room with people who were also just trying to do their jobs. The preparation was real. It was preparing you for something it had no way of knowing had already been domesticated.